Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sonnet, the owner and creator behind Sonnet's Garden Blooms, and in today's video, you guys are getting a thrift true treasure. I know how much you love them, but today there's a little twist. I actually am taking several items that I have started and we are finishing them in today's video, and then a few others we are just completely upcycling. So stay tuned and see what I have in store for you. For project one, I actually started this on a live. I had leftover milk paint and I hate wasting things, so I grabbed this metal tin and I put all the milk paint that I had left over on that. And if you guys are asking or wondering, it was Sweetie Jane milk paint. I actually put extra bond in it as well, so it stuck perfectly to this metal container. Now, I have been trying to use up this IOD transfer for a while. I have been slowly but surely cutting chunks of it off, and I think I'm going to tackle that in an upcoming video. I'm just going to use the rest of the entire transfer. What do you guys think? Should I just see how I can use it? But anyways, I am cutting off chunks of this transfer and we are going to add it to this container. I think that the black is really going to pop off that Sweetie Jane color. I felt like it needed something more, so I cut off another chunk of the transfer and I thought it was perfect. I'm going to put it right in the center between specimen blends, and I think it's going to tie this all together. If you haven't used an IOD transfer before, super easy. You just lay down the transfer, you take the transfer stick and start rubbing, and the transfer just sticks to whatever item or project you're wanting it to be applied to. After that, you just take that same paper that the transfer was on and you rub it all over, and that is called burnishing. And you can layer your transfers or you can use just as is, cut them apart. You can use multiple transfers together. So that's what I really love about the IOD transfers. Now, this one is an older transfer. It's no longer offered, and they used to come in tubes. Now you guys are so lucky. They actually come in packets. So in tubes, I feel like it was a lot harder to work with the tubes or the rolled up sheets. Now when I use the other transfers or the new transfers in the packets, it's so easy. I want to add feet to this little metal container to make it a riser. I had all these spindles, and to get them all the feet cut the same size, what I did is I took blue tape and I wrapped the blue tape all the way around the spindles, brought it out to my saw, and then I cut it on my saw. That way they're all the same size. I'm taking these and I'm going to put them on each of the corners so you can kind of see this is my vision and how I want to place them. But first, I do need to paint them. So we are using Coal Black from Fusion. It is a one-step paint, so I only need to apply one even coat. It has amazing coverage. It does have the sealer built right in. So I am going to apply one even coat over all four of the legs, and then once they're dry, we can attach them. I laid them back out, and now this is when I was a little confused on how I wanted to attach them. I knew I was going to use my brad nailer, and I initially thought, oh, I'll just hold it and then I'll shoot a brad nail into it. And then I got scared because what if I missed and then that brad nail shot through my finger? So I kiboshed this idea and I went with my secondary solution. I am going to apply a little tight bond to each of the feet, and then I'm going to apply just a little hot glue. That way it will all be held in place. I can then flip it over, and then I can line up my brad nailer and shoot a brad nail in each of the feet, and then go back and then shoot another one. And that solution worked out so much better than my initial one. Safety first, guys. You do not want to injure yourself, and always try to come up with the best solution when you're using power tools. After I had them on, I just flipped it over and then I added 2 brad nails into each of the feet, and it worked out perfect. For project 1, I was at Water Street Vintage and I was in my friend Wendy's booth. What caught my eye was this brass doorknob, you guys. Look at all that beautiful detail. And I have had this vision in my head for a while that I wanted to do this. So I was going to grab just the brass one, and I thought, nope, she's got some really beautiful white ones as well. Gonna grab those too. And when I was at the Goodwill bins, I actually thrifted 3 different stands that had those metal photo holders, and I was like, I am grabbing those. I took each of them, and what I did is I cut off all those little metal pieces, and I've had them in my stash because I knew that this is one of the projects that I wanted to do. So for starters, what I did is I determined that I wanted the brass little holder in the center and then the 2 white ones on either side. I wanted the brass one to be the tallest, and then I was going to stagger the heights of the other 2. The next step is I plugged in my hot glue gun and I heated that up, and then I determined that I definitely need a new hot glue gun, but I am going to squirt some hot glue into the first little hole, and then I'm going to take the metal piece and I am going to try to make sure I push all the hot glue down, and then I'm going to fill up the hole the rest of the way. This actually worked out really good. Once it's set up, I just took my nail and I scraped off the top, and you would never know it was hot glue. I loved how it actually dried clear, and you would have no idea that it's being held in there by hot glue. I repeated the steps for the other 2, and it was such a quick and easy project, you guys. It did not take long at all, and I am honestly not a fan of hot glue, but this worked out pretty darn sweet. Now, I do want to use this for my own personal use. I want to put photos. Because I don't have any printed off, I want to show you what else you can do with these. I actually thrifted some. It was called Archivers. It used to be around here in Appleton. It was a scrapbooking store, and when I was at the Goodwill bins, they actually had like an Archivers packet. It must have been like a monthly workshop that they had, and these were part of it. So I grabbed them and I thought, these will be perfect just to use to show you what you can do with it if you don't want to use them for photos. And so I just popped out all these different tags and I inserted them in the photo holder. So even if I don't have time to print off some photos anytime soon, I can still use these in my home decor. And then when I print them off, I can take these out and then add the photos. For project 3, while I was out thrifting, I grabbed this candlestick, and it's kind of hard to tell here, but it is substantially tall. I paid $5.99 for it, and I loved the height. I actually like that brass spot as well. But as I was looking at it, I'm like, who is going to use it for a candle? So what I decided to do was use it as a riser. I also thrifted this wood piece at the Goodwill bins. It had been at the store, it was $3.99. It was then marked down to 99 cents. When I found it, where all that hot glue is, you can see up on the top, there were actually leaves and branches, and I ripped that all off and I thought, this is going to be super easy to clean up and repurpose. I'm just going to use my heat gun and heat up that hot glue and it is going to come right off. Well, first off, I could not find my metal tool that I use to scrape. I misplaced it. I'm sure I put it somewhere and unfortunately I can't remember where. So instead I used my screwdriver, which was not working. It was causing almost more of a big mess. I was getting hot glue everywhere and I thought, nope, I'm just going to stick with it. I bought it. I'm going to try to get this off. So I'm like, I'm going to get off as much as I possibly can. And then I thought I'm going to use my sandpaper. I'm going to try to sand it once I get most of it off. And that made even a huger mess. So I was actually going to kibosh this project and just go out and buy a different round. And then I came up with a secondary solution. I decided to try Soak Off, and if you don't know what this is, it's an extra strength nail polish remover. So I took a piece of paper towel, got that wet, and I started rubbing, and instantly the hot glue started coming off. I just rubbed the entire piece, and all that excess hot glue that was still on the board totally came off. It was the perfect solution, and I recommend this stuff for so many different applications, not just your nails. After that, I grabbed a piece of sandpaper and I just wanted to sand off as much of this stencil as I possibly could. I didn't want to paint it and then you could see the image of the stencil underneath. So that's what I did. I basically almost brought it all the way down and smoothed out the entire stenciled image, and then it was time to paint. I'm using Fusion's Cashmere, and this is such a warm white. It's like a creamy white, and I thought it would go perfectly with that dark candlestick. I am using my Stahlmeister paintbrush, and I am applying 2 even coats of cashmere to both sides of the board, letting it dry very thoroughly in between coats. And once that's done, I at first was just going to attach it and be done. And then I thought, this needs a little something something. I grabbed my JRV stencil that I love to use and I added that to the very top. It was the perfect addition to this entire piece. I lined it all up and made sure that the A and then the seamless was directly in the center and that the spacing on both sides were the same as well. And then I'm using Fusion's cast iron and the JRV stencil brush in the 1/2 inch, and I am going to stencil. Now, a couple things about stenciling. First of all, you want a really nice stencil brush. And that is why I started to carry the JRV stencil brushes, because they are top notch. It's got a really nice bristle to it. And the second thing is, when you put paint on your stencil brush, you want to offload. I find that stenciling can be a little tedious, and some people want to speed up the process, so they add more paint to their stencil brush. Offload and do multiple layers versus loading up your paintbrush, because you're going to get a lot of bleed through. So I offload and then I go through the entire image. If there are any areas where I think I need to add a little more paint, then I do so. But I love having that paint or that stencil brush. It just makes a really nice, crisp, clean image. After that, it's time to attach the actual candlestick. I flipped over the piece and then I placed the candlestick directly in the center of it, and I'm using my brad nailer and I am going to angle it and I am going to attach brad nails around the entire base of the candlestick, and that will hold it in place. For project 4, anytime I'm out thrifting and I see enamelware, I thrift it, guys. I'm always grabbing it, and I'm looking for different ways I can repurpose it. This inspiration actually came from Sandra. She's in our membership group, and her business name is Midwest Charm. She is out on YouTube and Facebook, and she has some amazing vignettes, amazing ideas. And the other night in our membership group, she gave us a tour of her store and showed us how she creates her vignettes. And this was part of one of her vignettes, and I had to borrow the idea because I absolutely loved it. So I grabbed a piece of enamelware, and then I went into my stash, and I knew I had thrifted some bird's nests, and I did. And I also thrifted this tiny little bird, and I thought it was going to be absolutely perfect. For starters, I decided I wanted to paint the bird blue. I love bluebirds, and I know he was already cute, but I think by painting him blue and adding a bit of white wax to bring out all of his beautiful detail, he'll look pretty darn amazing. I painted the little bird Seaside, which is a Fusion mineral paint, and Fusion is a one-step paint, so the top coat's built in. I'm also using DIY's white wax, and that's what I love about all the products I carry, because you can intermingle them. So I am taking the white wax and I am applying it into all that beautiful detail of the bird, really getting it in there. Once I have the white wax applied, I'll take a piece of paper towel and wipe away the excess. As I do that, if there are any areas of the bird that I feel like need a little bit more, I just add a little bit more white wax in that area, wipe away the excess again until the project is exactly how I want it. Now it's time to pull the project together, and when I thrifted that little bird, these 2 little eggs were in by him. I thought I might as well use them up, so I'm taking my hot glue and I am gluing the eggs into the nest. And as you can see, I ripped the entire nest apart, so I glued that back in there, position the eggs how I want them, and then I'm gluing the whole nest and that extra piece all into the enamelware. After I get that all positioned, then I put hot glue on the little bird and I position him in the nest. I definitely want it very secure because what I'm planning on doing is putting this in my booth. And for all of you that have booths, you know how customers can be. They can try to take apart your projects. So you definitely want this all glued and secured very well before you put it in your booth. After that, I decided to add a piece of ribbon, and I thought that way it can be hung off of something. It would probably be kind of hard to hang this on a nail unless we flipped it around. So I just took a chunk of ribbon and I did a knot at the end, and then this project is complete. So it was super simple, and I had all the pieces lying around. I just had to put it all together. For my 5th and final project, I actually had this drawer in my stash for quite a while. When I first started offering Sweet Pickins milk paint on a live, I demoed how to use it. And since then, I never finished the drawer. I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do, but not for sure. So it actually went back into my stash until today. The first thing I decided was I wanted to add some transfers to the front, and I was just going to add this one piece. And once I laid that first piece of transfer down, I decided to add a bit more writing here and there to the front of the drawer, and I absolutely love how this turned out. I should mention that I used artichoke for the green, and I also used the Sweet Pickins dark oil wax, which I absolutely love. And that's how I got the finish on that drawer. After I applied the transfer, I am then sealing it with Big Top, and I'm just applying one even coat of Big Top to the entire piece. And after that, I reattach the handles, and we're going to add some feet to this drawer as well. When I cut up spindles 4 feet, I want them to be all the same length, so I do apply blue tape around all 4 spindles to ensure that they stay all together, and when I cut, they're all the same size. So I'm removing the blue tape now. I am going to paint all of feet coal black by Fusion, let that dry, and then we're going to go ahead and attach them with my brad nailer to the drawer. First thing I'm going to do is place the legs where I want them. I'm going to add a bit of hot glue to each of the legs to hold them in place, flip it over, and then we're going to use the brad nailer to nail them in place. I used 2 brad nails in each of the feet, and then this project was complete. What did you guys think? I hope you guys are inspired to go out and finish some of your projects. If you saw my post about how I am getting my PhD in crafting, yeah, projects half done, guys. I am trying to start completing those and getting them into my booth. I have far too many. And many of the projects in today's video were actually from my lives. So I just did not have enough time on my lives to actually finish them. So this was the perfect opportunity to just pull a few more and actually complete them. Plus, I was able to use up a lot of scraps from my transfers that I've had. I definitely want to use that up, and that is a goal. I need to get that sheet gone. I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love it, but it has been open and it keeps getting, as you guys probably saw in the video, parts of it just keep peeling back, and I want to use it before I can't. So Monday's video, I am going to be doing another Thrift to Treasure, and then Friday's video is going to be the new IOD release, you guys. So I am so excited that the IOD release is happening on March 15th, and that is at 11:30. So my video will be out early. It'll be actually out at 11:30 Central Standard Time when the IOD release happens. So I cannot wait to hear what you guys think about the IOD release too. It is going to be fantastic. So you guys have yourselves a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Bye.